this all together? Or what's the common thread or the tangled web we weave? I think weaving is really rich metaphorically as a medium for me as well. And that's reflected in just how common the usage of like weaving terminology is. My process is very methodical. And so sometimes I think it's good just to break out of that. I'm trying to do kind of like hazy seascapes where partly based on reality, partly from my imagination. So this is a chance to just be a little bit looser and see what I can stumble upon when I just let myself experiment a little bit more with the materials and with the colors. Whoever's standing there in this landscape or the seascape is on a sandbar when the tide's out, or it's never the perspective from the land. It's always from that space that only exists when the tide's out. So that in-between space, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to capture with these new pieces, but I'm also just kind of letting myself just play and be a little bit looser and see what happens. So you can see everybody's name on here who owned a lot of land. So this is, I think, 1870s, Meacham's maps. So this is our area. This is Belfast. You got Orwell Bay there. Our little schoolhouse that we live in is on the map. It's right here. A little tiny picture of a schoolhouse. So I've used this quite a lot to kind of compare and contrast a map of this area from the 1800s and then going on Google Earth and seeing what it looks like today. There's one road that's really close by, Halliday Road, which is just behind Cooper's there. And when my daughter was really little and she would only nap in her carrier, I would literally go for 3 walks a day down Halliday Road. During those walks, I thought a lot about the landscape and the environment and the various landmarks that are there now, landmarks that used to be there that are no longer there. And it just got me thinking about my immediate landscape through time. Weaving is based on the grid. It's all a grid. So for me, it lends itself really well as a translation tool for information, data, to take what is often kind of inaccessible, factual data about the world around us and translate it into something that is evocative, something that is really tangible, and something that has all these reference points for people. The loom is one of the oldest technologies in the world, basically since we went from hunter-gatherers to like agricultural societies. People figured out how to weave. The jacquard loom was the precursor to the computer. So, I mean, weaving is binary code. Either your strings are up or your strings are down. But within what seemed like very limited boundaries of being up and down, combined with the pedals and how many different harnesses you have, you can create multitudes of patterns and structures. I mean, I'm creating what seem to be photographically 2-dimensional images, but these images are actually structural. They're on the front and the back of the piece of cloth that I'm creating. That's what's creating the pattern that our eyes perceive. But it's also giving the fabric very physical qualities that, we've relied on for our clothing, for shelter, for so many things over so many years. It's not just a piece of paper with a drawing on it. It's something very different than that. We often went down Point Prim for snooze cruises, we called them, because again, she would only nap in the car for a certain period of time. So there would be 2 drives a day down Point Prim for a while. And the pink circles represent the various locations where she would fall asleep. And then the yellow and orange circles, which are a little bigger, are areas where I would get to just park the car and have her sleep and have 20 minutes of quiet to myself with my own thoughts. So they were often places where I had a nice view of the water. So that's why all the yellow and orangey circles are close to the shoreline.